Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pearls of Wisdom. Today we have Suchada and Navasit with us, and we have a very, very hot topic about sexuality. So these questions came up. Suchada, go ahead.
I want to know about sexuality. Why are so many people ashamed of their sexuality?
You know, the thing is that is not just for now, but this is already going on for generations, that you, me, as a human being, are being belittled, and generally you are not worthy. This is already the first principle, what they are using to control people. Now, a healthy, strong person with a good self-esteem is not controllable. But a person, you know, when we look at the consciousness level, who is on a consciousness level somewhere, shame and guilt, they are easily controllable. And now you can also see again that the shame itself, like when people tell you that you have to be ashamed of your sexuality, it's not about your sexuality at all, but it's about your psyche, to put you down, that you are not worth it. Now, more or less, all that comes together because sexuality is one of the greatest gifts we have. Now, this is where we are God-like, where we create. Like a sperm and an egg coming together, creating a baby. This is in a kind of a miracle. And when you look back in ancient traditions, I have studied Tantra many, many years ago. The sexual act was a celebration. You don't just go around and have sex like an animal. Or you just don't have, like a lot of people do, just sex to kind of get rid of an urge. But you prepare. I mean, I have to talk more from the perspective of a woman, because I'm a woman and I understand more about that. So, for example, when you go back into the temples where the young girls have been initiated. Now, it happened that a young girl, when she came into puberty, started to have the menstruation, the girl was taken away from the family. The same is for the boy also when he came into puberty and he was going with the hunters and with the whatever they were doing there, having mostly 1 year of initiation of becoming a man. And the same is happening at the initiation of becoming a woman. And this is in the tribes, some had temples for that. And they were exactly shown how that works. And you know, then the first time they did have sex, they were initiated by elders. And that was not just a coincidence to have sex with somebody because you fall in love. That was separate. That was not the same story. So, for example, if a woman is being prepared, like for a wedding night or for a sex night to conceive a child, then they have very clear rituals. So they also do like cleaning rituals. They have baths, they oil their body with sacred fragrances, and they really prepare. And then the place where they have the sexual activity is also being prepared for them. It's not just somewhere. And then it usually starts already before with having a meal together and talking together and doing some, it's, you know, in Tantra we have very specific exercise that you can do to kind of start to understand your body, because every part of your skin, everything has a sexual reaction if you know how to touch a body in the right way. So this is a ceremony, this is a sacred ceremony, and sexuality is sacred. Then we had that we have that aspect of the sacred sexuality that is also, for example, to conceive a child. And if both partners are really ready for that, you can also imagine that you attract a very high conscious level soul, because you very consciously prepare to receive that soul. But today, when people just have sex, like, you know, even in violent ways, you know, hurting each other, shaming each other, you're not worth anything, and now you're pregnant, it's your fault, you know, it's always the woman's fault. So of course, then the result of that is shame and guilt. And then again, go back to the consciousness level and look at it, and you know exactly where it comes from. That's where they want to keep you. And then we have other rights that is in the tribal, what do you call it? Tradition would be the right way. You know, there is, like, first of all, they always had the moon calendar, and they were not according to the sun, and there were some special sacred times that were kind of outside of time, that were maybe a few days or whatever. And in the Greek tradition, also in the back, this is Bacchus, this is the god of alcohol, where everybody was drunk. You drink, and you have sex, and you dance, and you know, sometimes of these dances are very strong in rhythm, bang, 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 to arouse you, to make you sexual aroused. And then they had sex in this time, and in this time, first of all, women, they really didn't know whose child it is. Because in this tribal area, it does not matter who is the father. The children, they grow up with the women, and the men, they have their life afterwards. And then, as I said, in poverty, the girls, they go to the women, the boys, they go with the men. So this was a different kind of also learning experience for humanity at that time. You know, to more get into individualize this, like when you have couples, that is a complete different story than when you have been a tribe. And in these tribes, this goes for psychoanalysis, you know, because once you freak out for 4, 5, 6 days, all your we can say primitive notions are satisfied. The wildness within you. And afterwards, then it's like you're relieved of all the pressure, because you can imagine also, for example, tribal life can be difficult, you have survival problems, whatever, but then are these sacred holidays that are connected with the calendar, where you have these celebrations, and this is an outlet. And at that time, mostly men and women did not even completely live together. But now we still had the time, we had families, like big families, like you have children, you have parents, you have grandparents, maybe even auntie, uncle around, maybe some that are not married. So there is always a lot of people around. So when a couple get married, so they give this couple time, and the others take work, and they even look for the children if the couple wants to have some time together, because they understood that when you have the couple, they need time together to work also through all their problems, to have their sexual needs covered. And in a bigger family like that, it was much easier than, imagine, like you live in a 3-room apartment and you have already one child, and you hardly barely can have sex, because you always have to pay attention, maybe the child hears it or not. A lot of problems coming out of this. So first of all, we have the whole education of not being worthy, and women especially are more put down, that they are not worthy, because a man, you can never see if he has created a child or not, but with the woman you see it. So it's much easier for a man to get away with it. Now today with where we can check the DNA, it's not that easy anymore, but before it was, you can deny it. And that was also when you look back, women, they have been horribly misused, like this lower class of those who were serving others. When a woman was pretty, they were just used. And they had lots of bastard children running around. And this is also one reason why in the monasteries and temples, they had schools, because they were mainly the kids of the nuns and the monks. Obviously orphans, So it is a very dirty game that's going on, and that was going on and still going on in this direction. And a woman who still has the instinct, the feeling, the deep feeling of the divine feminine within, must feel horrible in this situation, must have problem in this situation that a man does not understand. And again, it's brainwash for both sides, And I'm not saying man is worse, because they are doing worse in the moment. This is their program, because women have mostly gone into defense or become men. So the whole gender topic that is coming up today, the whole pedophilia, everything like that, is they have absolutely no natural relationship with sexuality anymore, and cannot handle their feelings that's coming up, the desire, the sexual desire. They don't know how to handle that anymore. And I had a friend, she was a midwife. And she was also for natural birth, she was promoting about water birth and many things like that. And she said, for a woman, it is very important to keep herself healthy, that if you don't have a partner, that you still caress your body and masturbate and have an orgasm, because what happens when you have an orgasm. You feel that energy going into your whole body. This is like an energy push that you need to help you to remain healthy. And of course, then it comes again, there's a lot of guilt. There is less guilt with men for masturbation, but much more with women. And, she is a midwife, and she had a little booklet she showed to me. And, the images of vaginas. And I didn't know that either, because I didn't see many vaginas in my life, but they have many different forms. And they are all like, when you look at the form, the lily form of the flower of the lily, they were pencil drawing, absolutely gorgeous. I've never found that book. I wanted to buy it. I have not found it. But she said, this is so subtle. And if you really see that as like I read some books about Chinese tantra, and they call it the lotus gate.
Lotus gate.
You have it in the Dakini Oracle. There is one of the cards, I have to post it afterwards in the blog, the picture, that she has by the vagina, she has a pink lotus, and this is the lotus gate, is the sacred gate of life. Because life is being created there. This is a sacred act. But generally, when you look at religion and all the topic we've been talking before about it, the sacredness is completely lost. So the shamefulness that most people feel, and there's still men too, men who still have a conscience, they feel that shame too, because we are put down as dirty. And part of the body already, when you are a little child, is dirty. Don't put your fingers there, don't do that, don't do that. It's dirty. This is the taboo. And you don't know why, and you have these feelings, and why can I not, and why is this dirty, why should that be bad? And everybody who had once good sex and had a beautiful orgasm knows that it is something absolutely great to have. So people start to crave, and then they just repeat the act of sex, but not with the love and with the respect together. And that is then the feeling that we start to feel the shame, because it does not give us the satisfaction. You have like an orgasm for minutes, seconds, or longer, what depending, and then go down and everything is back to normal. And then, oh, I want to have it again, I want to have it again, and that gives the sex abduction. And then comes the whole story with the chakras, that you know, like the sexual abuse that I see connected with the chakras. Because for those who've never heard me talk about that, we have done a video on chakras where I explain what we, not me alone, but others also think about the chakras. Already look at the serpent, the symbol of the serpent. So I'm not want to go in there, but you can find it in my video channel.
So I think it's about the purpose, you know, from listening since the beginning. In the ancient day, the purpose for the sexuality activities is to sacred, to pay respect to the higher consciousness.
Yes, to
And
pay
for the
respect to the
tribal,
divine masculine and the divine feminine.
yeah. And for the tribal, some tribal tradition is just for to create life without,
Yes.
you know, attachment of the family and something. And then when the society has rules and norms, now it comes to have like the family. So the purpose of the sexuality activities is shifting. And now the purpose is totally like different from all those
From the
ancient
original.
days. Mm.
Well, you know, I mean, all the tradition, all the tribes behind that, if you also know about the shamans in the original part, shamans were women, not men, because the woman knows how to nurture. It was part of the women in the tribe. There was the shaman, this is the healer. And then but with the men, we had the tribe leader, the warrior, the chief, whatever. So that was very clear, and then what the women did and what the men did was also very clear. But they were also, for example, women warriors. Not every woman was meant to have a child. And you know also from astrology that we see very clear that not every woman is here living to have a child. We have different topics, but every woman and every man is a sexual being. And in most of the, no, in all of the older tribes and traditions, they knew exactly how to prevent from getting pregnant. You know, they knew exactly how to eat certain herbs or fruit or whatever that they don't get pregnant. So, for example, when they had their celebrations, you know, when the year is finished, like in Europe, we have very often a tradition that is also connected. They come with big bells and they ring the bells and have masks to chase away the negative energies, the negative spirits. And this is like a cleansing ritual, that the cleaning out of the old year has to go, but that the new year can start. And then there is also in older traditions sexual rituals connected with that. So the new life, the new year, is also symbolic for a new life. And it was at that time also often that children were conceived at this time of year, and then you had a whole bunch of children, and their birthday was more or less at the same time. And this was all connected with our natural rhythm and in honor and respect with our divine heritage. But the more we actually, the more we fell under religion, the program to control us, then the more we lost the contact with our own divinity.
Yeah. So the meaning of sex is
Yeah.
totally different, and they just like devalue it.
Yes. And I mean, for many people today, it's just like a kind of sport, you know, I think so much sex and just to kind of, okay, body release or whatever it is, but it is not the sacred act anymore. And if you cannot bring it back to that it can be a sacred act, respecting the other gender, and not just the gender itself, but the whole body, the whole person itself. Like really prepare yourself. Like, for example, you know, I remember well when we were young, when I go to the theater, for example. So, for example, I am invited to go to the opera. So at that time, we still had a certain, like we call it the small black dress, you know, like the black elegant dress we put on. We were allowed then to put on some makeup and some high heel shoes, and very good. And then the guy pick you up and give you a flower, and you go to the opera, whatever. And you know, a little bit more sophisticated. Sometimes he has even reserved afterwards a hotel room. But you know, the whole thing was like going up, or maybe you went even to a so-called, they called it dancing at that time. It's like a place where you can dance, you know, there is like a bar and good music, and you know, it all builds up. That was still more or less mundane, but it was a build up and the respect and a spoil of each other. And it was beautiful. And these are moments, when you have moments like that in life, you never forget. This is making memories you never forget, because these are the highlights in your life, and you need these highlights. If you don't have those highlights, there's nothing you can hold on. Its life is just going on with its misery. I don't know, have you ever seen The Witches of Eastwich?
No.
That's check that movie out. That's a very good one. I never forget. That's with Nicholson, Jack Nicholson, and the three women. Cher is one of them. Cher, and the blonde Michelle Pfeiffer, and Susan Sarandon. Genau, she's the redhead. You had a blonde, black, and redhead, and he said to Nick. Daryl. He said to one of the women at that time, she said, "Oh, I have to go home. I have to look for my kid. I have to make the household." And he said, "Yeah, and you have to make it tomorrow again, and after tomorrow again, and after tomorrow again, and after tomorrow again." And they were more or less three women who were divorced, or I don't remember if, or maybe not, but this is a very, very good movie, a lot of symbols inside, and shows very clearly the sexual problem in our world. A very good play. This is one of the really good movies. It's what is it, year-wise? I was actually showing this movie in my workshops when I was still in Switzerland in the 80s. So the movies is from probably 70s, 80s, and this. So we were working with this movie on sexual problems when we in our women workshops. Very
so this day, I think we give the meaning of the sexual is just, you know, like kind of meaningless. No, it's not meaningless, but it shows less value. And
it's just a physical yes, a physical satisfaction. It doesn't have divine purpose anymore.
And why do we have to feel guilt about our sexuality? Like, okay, I'm not sexy enough. No one would.
What is sexy?
Me.
I mean, look at how women dress today.
Yeah, kind of.
You know what? You have no idea what sexy dressing is.
True.
I mean, this is all unisex, what you're wearing. I mean, you know, now and then the crazy thing is, then you look at Hollywood and there you see how sexy these women dress. But you in your daily life, you have not, most women don't even have one sexy dress anymore. They go in their jeans, you know, even when later I went once back to the theater, much later. And I saw, that was the first time I saw people coming in the opera with jeans. I was totally shocked at that time, but that's also long ago. But now this is normal. People don't dress up anymore. People don't, you know, they don't care so much anymore. Of course, they make whatever makeups or whatever, but you know what you do with this kind of makeup? You don't really get out the significance of your personality. You just make yourself say, look sexy, but you are not sexy. And then you have maybe a sexy look or whatever, and then you might have sex and you feel guilty about, because your makeup, you put up a mask, you paint the mask on your face. But the real meaning of sex is much deeper. And then you have maybe, you know, I know even from, you know, I've been therapist for many years. So many women, they come, I can just not, my husband is just so fast and I can never have an orgasm, and because he's way too fast. And this is because the preparation does not work. You're not prepared. And once you also are in this scheme of being guilty, whatever, you just try to please the husband to make an orgasm, and you kind of, oh, okay, and then maybe you fake it even, that he's happy or whatever, you know.
Fake the orgasm?
Yeah. Well, you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So there is a lot of games going on, because today also when you look at the marriage, a marriage is, even if they fell in love at one point, they might not be in love anymore, because the moment you are married, it becomes a routine and it becomes a duty. You have to do this, he has to do that, and so on, and then the whole kind of energy spark is gone, and then, oh, I have to please him. So I think in a society that was more open, it was much easier to keep up your dignity. Because now you are Mrs. So-and-so and you Mr. So-and-so, you're this couple coming up and you have to play this role. You have to play this role in front of your business colleagues or your family, whatever. You cannot be you anymore. You're under the pressure. Like when you look back, when they are bigger families, then and they had all these celebrations and fun together, and you can still observe that in smaller villages. But not so much anymore, because the dogma has taken over practically everywhere. So one thing I really recommend is, and I will see if I find something, you know what, in the 80s, 90s, 70s, when I was young, I read everything in German. I was still in Switzerland, so I don't have many reference to English books, but I will have a look around if I find something. And if I find something, I'm gonna also put it in the blog.
So how come being ashamed and guilt of sexuality can lead to illness?
Absolutely.
How?
Now imagine a healthy sexuality is part of your life. When you're a child, you have already as a child sexual feelings, but not that urge as when you are young. So again, we talked about in astrology, it's like that. You can see like the first 7 years in life, this is like Aries, it's like being born, and then kind of growing into this body, and then starting to really understand your environment, family, and everything. And then when you come in the topic of Gemini, the third cycle, this is between 14 and 21, this is when you discover your sexuality. And then you have to live it. But you cannot. In our society, you practically cannot. And this is usually, see, that's when around 14 or, you know, today, maybe earlier or later, when you are when you're in the puberty, then you have gone with the men or the women to be educated and understand everything. So what is happening today? Who told you about sexuality? I remember even in my life, my mother, oh, you know, you have to be careful that you don't get the child. And I remember when I had my menstruation first time, I didn't know what that blood was. Nobody told me. So I was kind of, oh my God. And then, and you know, in many traditions, we don't have the same word in German, but in English, oh, the curse has come on you. Already your menstruation is called the curse. You're cursed with your menstruation instead of blessed, because that is the time that you have, maybe about 30 years, that you are able to procreate. That's part of your life. And then you don't have it anymore. And there's no more children you can have. This is a phase in your life. And you know, and then when you go through it, this is the Scorpion phase, when you are into the menopause and you enter a different topic in your life. And again, that does not tell you you cannot have sex anymore. But your sexual desire will shift and change, and it will move from sexuality into erotic. And it's also, again, like our bodies age way too early because we don't live the right life. Our bodies were not made to last only 60, 70, 80 years, you know. Our body is made that we can be 100, 200, 300 years old. And then the first Uranus cycle, actually around 84, this will be when we are really mature and when we enter the life of the true adult, the connectedness with the divine. But that does not, absolutely not say you cannot have any sex or erotic. In the contrary, and then it starts to bloom and becomes really a ceremony of life, a celebration of life. So when we, you know, it's very simple. You know, the consciousness level. Every person who is remained in shame and guilt with their sexuality is part in a low consciousness level and will never make it beyond. If you want to move on, you have also to release that. And here we come with illness. It's like, you know, when a river flows and now we make a dam, then here is a lot of water and here is none, or just a little bit. So there is somewhere too much energy and somewhere not enough. And every illness is imbalance. It's always somewhere too much energy, somewhere there's not enough. And with the shame guilt topic in the sexuality, there is not enough. So that's why, for example, then women have not enough red blood cells or too low blood pressure, all that kind of stuff. This is escaping life, trying to escape, because you do not truly find a purpose in life. And that makes you sick. And depending, then it is also connected with your DNA, from your ancestors, you know, what kind of illness you develop. But every time when sexuality is misused as just an act of satisfaction instead of a sacred ceremony, it has an imprint and it has some effect on you. That does not mean you cannot have wild sex or whatever, you know, you can chase each other in the forest. It's still fun.
So it's all about how we interpret sex
Yeah.
that makes us sick
Yeah.
from this shame and guilt.
Yes. Because it's also like we have all the different kind of energies within us. So we have the sacred sex, we have the wild sex. They're different kind, and it's all okay to live as long as we do it in respect with the other person. Like that is nature. You know, when you go to God Pan, that is connected with nature, with the flute, you know, with the sex. The celebrations, the wild natural celebrations, this is honoring your nature, Mother Earth. This is not evil. Our human mind make it evil.
So what is the real meaning or the purpose of sexuality and also gender?
First of all, you have chosen a gender when you have been born, because to be in a certain gender gives you a certain experience. So, I mean, you can say also changing gender gives you an experience. Okay, I cannot deny that, but why would I ask to be born as a woman just to go ahead and make operations and a lot of pain and stuff to put myself into a man? No, I wouldn't do that, okay? But I have a lot of also very strong male attributes, because when my past lives have been men and I've been woman, so in each lifetime I have chosen to be a certain gender. I have chosen for certain experience. And as being an old soul, having many experience in the back, so every lifetime gave me an experience. And in this lifetime, I kind of have access to all the experiences. So first of all, when you're born in a certain gender, you have to think about it. Try to look at the role of this gender, what it is. Like the man is the one who is the protector. The man is the executive. And you as the woman, you are the perceiving one, you are the nourisher. But that's also limited more or less to the time, say, for example, when you have family. Like when you have children and you have family, you know, maybe I just give you a sample. Say, for example, you're 20, you have, you get married, you have children, and they grow up, and maybe with 45, they are all gone, they are grown up, they have their own families, they create their own life. So that is already in a very natural circle, changing the role you play as a man and a woman, as a father and as a mother. Once your children are grown up, you're free again to do things that you could not do so much when you had children. And every change in life, you can go and learn some stuff or do some stuff that is from the other gender. That can be sports, that can be anything that has nothing to do with either good or bad. It has something to do with your personal experience. So for example, if I as a woman go and do, for example, as a lot of women do, muscle building, what does it do to me? How does it make me feel? Because as a mother, you're not going to build up your muscles, because that doesn't make any sense if you want to have children. When I was young, I was horseback riding. And I had very, very hard birth, because the doctor was, oh, okay, a rider, horseback rider. They're very strong in here, and it's very hard to open for giving birth. So I, of course, that's a part that you have to experience. That's it. But generally, I mean, when you look again at the tribal, the guys, they go out, they ride out, they hunt, they bring the food back, and the woman is more at the home, but they were also the Amazons, the female warriors, and they didn't have children in general. They were strong, they were built up, but again, you know, the horoscope shows you very clearly the curriculum of your life, if you are meant to be a mother or not. Like my son went through cancer, which is the sign of the family. So for me, it's very clear that I was supposed to have children. So whatever you do, the gender, the meaning of the gender that you incarnate with it is one part of your topic. So you have incarnated as a woman. Now look at that. What is your possibilities? And again, we are limited because of brainwash, dogma, education, and so on. So what is actually coming when this whole madness is over is that we start to remember again who we are, and that we start, and you can see already a lot of people, there is a whole alternative how you can more tribal groups are happening. People are together. That remember, that was my dream of here, making that little village, having people here with similar ideas to be more self-sufficient. A lot of people are doing that. And within their group, they trade. There's no money necessary. There's like, you are a good cook. Okay, you cook for us. You're a good whatever and good whatever. So we bring all our talents together, and then it works. And because you bring your talents together, the talents that make you happy. For example, I love to cook. I did. And I was happy when I was cooking, because you can have a lot of inspiration about how to do this and change this recipe, this a bit. It was a really funny time when I was cooking. But that time is over too. I don't cook so much anymore. Because now when I had family, when I have kids and I was taking care of other people, there was a lot to cook about, you know, so. Not today anymore. So things are shifting and changing in life, and that's natural. So we go and move on and shift, but shift in your gender line. And again, once you understand your personal blueprint in life, you can shift much easier from one age to the other in your gender line, with even being masculine without losing your femininity, or being feminine without losing your masculine aspect. That is the wisdom aspect. For example, you can also see in men when they're older, they had families, when you can go and you can discuss things and you can solve problems. And then they are the elders, and the woman can talk from her aspect, the man from his aspect, and you can find solutions. That would be an enlightened society. And we are moving towards it. More and more people, those who are awake, they step out of the pressure of the dogma of the dark ages.
And what is the real meaning and the purpose of the sexuality?
I think this is, first of all, you have to look at polarity. Generally, that we are able to experience, we need a polarity. That be a yin and a yang, be a masculine and a feminine. It's like the electricity, you need the positive, the negative to have the energy. So we need that kind of tension between positive and negative. And to have this tension, it's also like in the creation, there must be one being that is feminine, positive, and negative, and one is positive, that this can work together, that this can move, you know, it's kind of moving, you know, it's these wheels are turning. If you would have all the same gender, oh my God, it would be so horribly boring. So this is kind of the tension, the challenge to get together, to find purpose in your life, whatever gender you are. So I think creation would not be possible without gender.
Mm. Mm.
And again, look at how sick our society is. I mean, look where we are. Look what is happening. Look how blind people are. They follow rules that don't make any sense at all. I mean, my body is for me sacred. I would never let anybody put something into my body. I read labels. You know, sometimes also when I go shopping, I go to the staff and ask, what is in here? And then they look at me like, are you crazy? I say, yeah, I am. I want to know if there is MSG in this food. And then I put it back in the shelf and they look even like, you know, but I know this is bad. Or when it has certain E numbers, you know, especially the 600s and a few, I've sent out the list recently. Don't eat it because this is poison. They tell you, but you don't look.
Mm. Mm.
But it was much easier. That's why I plant my own stuff here. That's much easier when I know what I plant, then I know what I have. But I still have all the stuff in the rain that comes down that they spray in the air. But still, it's better than to buy stuff that is already in packages with a lot of whatever stuff that is definitely bad for your body.
Mm. So, and then maybe one of the last question, how can we find a natural way to enjoy sex? You know.
You know, sexual arousal, sexual feelings are natural when you're a sexual being, right? So it depends very much in what situation that you are. When you're married and you have a husband, and you can talk together and you can make, well, you can learn again to seduce each other.
Mm.
This is fun.
Mm.
Or you can also, I mean, if you have a consciousness level on that height that you can talk about it, that like, you know, I like this very much about you, or I need you to do this for me to be aroused, whatever, then that is the mature way to do it, especially with our background.
Mm.
And when sexual arousement is here and there is nobody there, then masturbate. Do it yourself in one or another way that you feel is good. But don't let that energy, don't waste that energy also, we can say, because this is energy.
Mm.
And when you have, then when you feel that energy is rising in your body, you have that feeling of feeling good. And I had one lady, and she said, you know what, I can hardly talk about that, but I want to tell you, you know, when I really cannot sleep, I masturbate, and then I can sleep like a goddess. Of course, because then the tension's gone, you're relaxed, you sleep.
Okay.
And again, it's also like, why should we feel guilty to give our body pleasure? Why the hell? Why the hell should we feel guilty about that? So we have to work on it. And I know this is not gone tomorrow. I mean, I was grown up in this very prude way, also in a way. But I mean, you know, the 60s, the sexual revelation, and then everything came up like crazy from one extreme to the other. That was also not very easy to understand, especially the parents, they were still like there, the grandparents, they were even further. Like you had grandparents when the grandfather never saw his wife naked, you know, they had sex in bed and she still had her nightgown and whatever, you know, kind of. That was still like in Europe in the older times was like that. And a woman, like these women, they didn't even really look how a man looks and what he looks, you know, kind of, they have never seen a penis. So we have to kind of peel ourselves out of that stuff. And when there is that point that you have a sexual arousal, then do something about it. Don't deny it. There are many ways that you can give yourself, your body, the satisfaction that the body needs to be healthy and strong. So, to conclude that, remember, sexuality is absolutely normal. Sexual feelings are absolutely, no, not normal, natural. This is natural. When you are a natural human being, you need release. Like when you're hungry, you eat. When you ate too much, when you're sick, you vomit. It's all kind of body reaction. So see that also, that part of a body reaction. And then sexuality with two people together, when we have that yin and yang aspect coming together, is a sacred union. You can use it or abuse it. And the most important thing is, in a couple, in any partnership, and that is not just sexuality, but that is on all levels, is respect and honor the other one for who he is. And don't rape anybody. You can rape mentally somebody too. It's not just sexually. Okay.
Interesting.
So,
Clear.
Okay, so thank you everybody for listening to that too. You can ask us questions. We can go into more details if you like to. And if you like the video, please give me that thumbs up and share it with your friends. And we have a next video next week.
Thank you so
Bye-bye
much.
now.
Bye.